Three sleeps till the season starts. It is the Locker Room, number one source for Texans digital content. I am Landry Locker. I was on the scene today, and we got some news. We got some interesting news. Adversity, perhaps anticipated, but it's happening even earlier than we could have thought. Adam Schefter had the report first. Adam Schefter reports that Christian Kirk is going to miss not at least 1 month, at least 1 week. Although we don't know, he did say that the Texans are going to be cautious with this. Can't say that I blame him for this, but according to Schefter, Christian Kirk will be out for a while and the Texans will be conservative when it comes to how they're going to handle this situation. Couple of things here when it comes to the Christian Kirk thing. First of all, I find it fascinating that Jaylen Noel doesn't really get the respect that he deserves when it comes to just how much of a physical freak the guy is. And I know he had a good combine, but you can make a case this guy might be one of the best athletes in the NFL right now. I don't know how many guys are better athletes than Jaylen Noel. And I'm gonna highlight this tomorrow. I'm kind of going to showcase this, but Jaylen Noel, slot receivers, a lot of times we just kind of assume they're a little bit slower. They're not as athletic. A lot of them have that deceptive speed. And then you see them at the combine and they run like a 4.8 or something like that. Jaylen Noel, his combine measurements among wide receivers, Jaylen Noel, he had the 9th fastest 40. He had the first highest vertical leap. He had the first longest broad jump. He was 5th in the 3-cone drill. And he was 4th in the shuttle. Now, a lot of guys can run, but strength is a completely different thing for those guys. He had 23 bench press reps, which was first among wide receivers. He bench pressed 225, more than Tyler Booker, and more than all but 2 tight ends and linebackers, and tied for the most at running back. Jaylen Noel is an absolute freak, and he doesn't quite get credit for just how much of a freak he is. Does that mean he's going to immediately be ready to fill in for Christian Kirk? No. But I just don't think it gets talked about just how much of a freak this guy is. People kind of sleep on the athleticism that he possesses. Now, is he immediately ready to contribute? I don't see why not. I think that Jaylen Noel was eventually going to kind of play his way into being and making the front office very comfortable with moving on from Christian Kirk. But now it's not a future thing, it's an immediate thing. And we'll see how it goes. I could see him basically making them not even consider Braxton Berrios, especially with how slim they are at other spots on the roster. I could see them being ready for Jaylen Noel to immediately contribute as a punt returner and him never look back and give it back to Braxton Berrios. And I know if he's the number 2 receiver, he's the slot. Some say you don't want him to return punts. I'm fine with Jaylen Noel returning punts. I have no issue with that at all. There's another thing that I kind of think that I've been sleeping on a little bit. And I feel like this has kind of been overthought. And I don't know if it's disrespect or if it's more about kind of the reality of what we've seen and what we haven't seen. I'll explain that in a sec. But first, let's talk core axioms. Nick Caley has said this a couple of times. I've said on the stream this week leading up to his media availability that I wanted to get to the bottom of this. What exactly are these core axioms that Nick Caley speaks of here in the locker room, presented by Sleeper? We'll go through the Sleeper picks a little bit later on. Get up to $100 cash back, up to 100. Use the promo code LOCKER. We got you covered there. But let's hear about these core axioms. And I think you're going to like this. If you're skeptical about Nick Caley or you're a Nick Caley fan, I think you're going to like the bars that Nick Caley drops. And there were some bars dropped today in the locker room. Let's hear from Nick Caley. I went back and forth with him about core axioms.
You've mentioned a couple times now core axioms when talking about the offense.
Yep.
How does that, is that like an overall theme of the offense? Is it a position by position thing? Can you talk about core axioms specifically?
Yeah, I would say specifically it's playing smart football, not beating yourself. You can't win till you keep from losing. Okay, that's the first thing. So no pre-snap penalties, not turning over the football. That transcends every single position to me on offense. Okay. The second thing that I would say is playing fundamentally sound. Okay, there's great players in this league. We're going to go against plenty of them this week and every single week from here on out. So if you don't play with good fundamentals, you don't really give yourself the best chance to play. I believe in that to a core. That's how I was raised in this business. The staff believes in that. And so I believe in that for every single position. There's certain techniques that, the line does that may not carry over to receivers, but they both block. Okay, they both have to get a line. They both have to play with a level of urgency. And those are the things that we believe in. And then obviously being a dependable teammate and coming through and having guys trust you next to you. And that carries over into whether it's assignments, whether it's being able to be out there every single day and practicing and giving yourself a chance to get better. So those are the core axioms. I think you have to start there to have a foundation, and then you build it from there.
Develop those. Where did you develop those? Did those something that you become an offensive coordinator and you find that, or is there somewhere along the way where you develop those?
Yeah, I mean, that's been the case when I coached, almost a decade on defense too. I think that for me, that's a belief that I've had since I was a young kid. I've obviously evolved and learned through the years, college stops, New England, Sean, a lot of great coaches that I've had a fortunate opportunity, to Nico, right there front and center right now. So those are things that we believe in. That's the starting point for us, and we want to go play hard, and we want to play a clean game and play physical with technique and fundamentals and start there.
And that's what I like about Nick Caley just so far. And this is something that it doesn't guarantee that he's going to be a good offensive coordinator. I know that Bobby Slowick's getting a lot of shots thrown his way. It might kind of be a shot at Bobby Slowick.
Damn it, Bobby.
But when he's saying that, it's not just some coach speak that he has that he's putting out there. Like, he stands on business and he stands for something and he believes what he says. He's not just grifting. He's not just saying what needs to be said in the moment. Like what he said right there, whether it works, whether it doesn't, whether he's the greatest offensive coordinator ever, or whether he sucks and he's a downgrade from Bobby Slowick, what he's saying there, he believes. And it doesn't sound like something that he copied. It doesn't sound like Bill O'Brien coming here and copying everything. It sounds like the foundation of what he teaches and how he coaches. And we'll see if he's able to put that to practice. We'll see how he adjusts. The other thing that Nick Caley said, and this is going to make a lot of you people, and I do mean you people, happy. Apparently, unlike Bobby Slowick, Nick Caley believes that halftime adjustments exist. How about that? Remember last year, Bobby Slowick, when he was dropped, what's the opposite of a bar? Like, what's the opposite of a bar? It is a dud. And people asking, yes, of course I'm watching the game. I got the game on in the office, for sure. And I'm sure a lot of people are watching the game as well. I was going to wait till 11:30 to go on the day before a Friday practice. But Nick Caley believes in halftime adjustments. And he was asked by Sam Warren in the Chronicle, like, what do you anticipate? Like, what are those things that you can't practice that you anticipate seeing as an offensive coordinator? Because you can't prepare for everything. Like, you can't prepare for halftime adjustments. You can't prepare for between series adjustments. What are some of those things that you kind of anticipate they're going to be there, and you're going to have to attack those for the first time? Let's hear some more from Nick.
Nick. Are there any like specific, whether it's between drive, halftime adjustments that you anticipate are going to be tests for you as a first-time play caller that you can't necessarily prepare for?
I think every game can be like that for an experienced coach, a first-time coordinator, a first-time position coach, a new player, rookie to a 10-year player. Things come up and things evolve, and it's how you adjust and adapt that's going to be, key and critical for everybody. So there's no different, just a different role maybe, but you're always doing that as a coach. I can say that. Adjustments, whether it's the first quarter, whether it's halftime throughout the game, you lose guys, you got to be able to adjust with different personnel and do some different things schematically. So I think as coaches, we're always trying to train ourselves that way, and that's what I would say. Staying focused on that is what I intend to do.
And I can't predict what he's going to be good at. I can't predict what he's going to be bad at. I just like that the guy stands on business. He's not a grifter. He stands on business, and he seems to have a foundation, and he's got a challenge early on. And this is part of the NFL. In a perfect world, Christian Kirk gets injured maybe after the first game or during the first game, not before the first game. But sometimes it be like that. Sometimes it happens. Braxton Berrios, by the way, not at practice either today. We did not see him. We did see the offensive linemen that were listed on the injury report, but they said Cam Robinson was not a participant and Blake Fisher was limited. So they were out there. They were stretching, but stretching doesn't count as participation. There's a lot more to do. So Cam Robinson, apparently he did participate, but we didn't see him do anything. And hopefully you don't get to a point where you have to see either one of them on the field, especially Blake Fisher. So that's where they're at when it comes to that. Jaylen Noel, next man up, Nick Caley, core axioms, and someone that perhaps I've been sleeping on. And this thought kind of emerged. There was a combination of things that had me started thinking about this. It was one of the people in the chat on the stream a couple of days ago, and a conversation today on SNL with Cody Stutes at 4:00. When we talk about this offense, we've talked about everything. We've talked about the O-line. We've talked about the quarterback. We've talked about the run game. And by we, I mean me. I'm not trying to act like everybody has been ignoring this. But is this really as simple as, yes, there's a superpower that the defense possesses to where they can force the offense to be great on a curve. But is it really as simple as the only thing on the offensive side of the rock that's been a constant, remaining a constant this year, while combining perhaps something that we saw last year? Because there's been one constant the last 2 years of the CJ Stroud era. We've seen running back, we've seen inconsistency running the ball, we've seen poor offensive line play, we've seen CJ play at an elite level, we've seen CJ have really bad games, we've seen CJ be just okay. We've seen a lot of things, but the one thing that we've seen, kinda, is whenever Nico Collins and CJ Stroud are on the field at the same time, they gel. And it's one of the best duos in the league. Now, Nico Collins misses games. We know this. But when they are out there, they gel. It's been the one constant. It's been when they're on the field, Bobby Slowick, good Bobby Slowick, Nico and CJ balling. Bad Bobby Slowick, Nico and CJ pretty much balling. Now, last year, heading into the year, and this is where someone brought something up in the chat. I got called out for saying, well, Nico's going to miss games. He's not going to play every game. You can't count on that. That's not realistic. I mean, we have 4+ years, nearly a half decade of evidence that Nico Collins is not going to play every game. That was the same thing that I was saying about Derek Stingley last year. And Derek Stingley played every game. Derek Stingley was an all-pro, and Derek Stingley was a big reason why this defense was one of the better defenses in the league, and a big reason why this defense could be perhaps the best in the league. And something else that Derek Stingley did last year was Derek Stingley made the rookie that we didn't have like we felt okay about, but we didn't have like significantly high expectations for. He made that guy better by leading by example, and just because the guy it is a baller, and he's kind of a guy that they got in the second round when they traded back. And that's Kamari Lassiter. And the Texans have 2 rookie receivers this year, one in the second round, Jaden Higgins, and one in the third round in Jaylen Noel. And what if Nico Collins can be this year's Derek Stingley, and you see him stay healthy, and you see him do what he does? Because Derek Stingley, the last month of the 2023 season, he was AFC Defensive Player of the Month. What if Nico can be this year's Stingley? What if the offense is just being overthought and Nico Collins is going to be ready to ball? I feel like I might be sleeping on Nico Collins and what he may be capable of and what he could do in this offense. And it's a new offense, but again, it's been a constant. Is it something you want to completely depend on? No, I don't think you dismiss half a decade of a body of work. But it was an excellent point in the chat, and I forgive me for not bringing up who actually said it, but it was an excellent point that I was saying that. I don't think it was a dumb thing to say, because sometimes it's just a luck thing. Sometimes guys are going to miss games over the course of their entire career. I mean, but you live with the good and you live with the bad. But if you get production from your day 2 picks on the opposite side of the guy that is a all-pro, Pro Bowl caliber guy when he's actually out there, maybe there's some sort of element where Nico Collins is the offensive version of Derek Stingley this year. I think it's also going to depend a lot on these rookies. If these rookies are good and they immediately contribute, then that makes everything better. If Nico Collins misses games, you feel a little bit better. Because that's been the other problem about Nico Collins missing games. It hurts because the Xavier Hutchinsons, the John Mechie's, they haven't really been able to step up when called upon and when needed the last couple of years. So if these rookies are able to do that, then that goes a long way. But I do feel like I might be kind of sleeping on Nico Collins and CJ Stroud being the bread and butter of this offense. So I thought that was a good observation. On the chat, Jim Everett the Great says Rams 36, Texans 21. That is his prediction. 36-21. You should give that 3 then easily if you think it's going to be a 15-point game. Go ahead and do that. Let's go to the third phase today, because I thought this was interesting from Frank Ross. And this is kind of nerdy. By the way, we had the over-under at 145, his opening statement. It was 108. He was way under today. Frank Ross wasn't as talkative as we're used to him being. But there's been kind of a trend with the Texans where, and it's a small trend, but you wonder with the rule changes and the fact that the Texans have really been at the very top of the league in special teams for the vast majority of Frank Ross's time. You wonder if they're kind of seeing something and they're kind of innovating a little bit, because when we used to think about, and maybe we still do, but when you thought about special team specialists, you often think about linebackers, safeties, guys who 90% of their impact and their snap count is on special teams, and then they're not really significant contributors on defense. The Texans have, by my count, 3 running backs that could very well play and cover kicks. There's a chance, if you look at some of the things that they've been doing, there's a chance where they have 3 running backs on the field when they punt. Marks, Dare Gumbawale, who Frank Ross almost started crying talking about Dare today, and British Brooks. 3 running backs, which I think is pretty fascinating given the fact of what we usually think about special team specialists. But here was what Frank Ross had to say about whether or not that's like a new trend or anything like that, he laid it out pretty well for us.
You have 3 running backs, I would say, that you trust on special teams. Typically, we think of like safeties and linebackers.
Yes.
Is that just a skill set thing, or does that have to do with the new rules?
Yeah, I don't think it's the new rules. I think it's the type of players you have, whether that's British, Dare. I mean, Woody Marks, again, I can't remember who asked the question in training camp about Woody's development, but like guys making, offensive touchdowns at USC and developing zero special team skill during that time. So everything to this point has been him training and developing for when he steps into our roles in our room. So I think it's a tribute to where our program is, and just guys that everybody on the roster is a football player first. It just so happens in 2025 we've got some skilled players on offense that happen to be special teams coverage players for us. It provides a special teams coach a lot of flexibility.
And they got it. And again, I think there's going to be 3 guys out there on punt, and there's 3 guys that are very capable of covering kicks. And I think that kind of helps too when you talk about pass pro. Like it might kind of be a little bit of a hint that maybe Woody Marks is prepared in the area that can keep a talented back on the sidelines. And that's usually pass pro. Like there's a lot of times where there's a running back who he's dynamic, whether it's in the pass game, whether it's in the run, and for whatever reason, he can't get on the field. And the more you talk to the coach, you hear from people who cover the team, the thing that's keeping him off the field is pass pro. If they trust Woody Marks to be a personal protector for the punter, you got to think that they probably trust him to go out there in pass pro. And Nick Caley has said that he's pretty impressed with the manner in which Woody Marks handles himself in pass pro. So maybe in a crazy way, that kind of tells you that, like we said earlier this week, Woody Marks being listed as RB4, it's kind of a lie. We are watching the Cowboys game too, by the way. Normally I wait to go on the air after the late night game. You all know that. Even if it goes to 10:45 or 10:50, I wait. But I mean, this game didn't resume till 10:30. So it would have been late. I'm a night owl. I can hang a little bit on it. Especially when I'm on that
high grade marijuana called Kush on the streets.
But in this case, it's got to go live. We'll watch this. I think there's 7 minutes left, and the Cows just got the ball down 4. So we'll see what old Dak Prescott can do. I have a question about this game too. If you're, as a Texans fan, if on the first play of the game on Sunday, if Matthew Stafford and Will Anderson are arguing with each other, and Will Anderson spits on Matthew Stafford, are you going to defend that? Like, are you going to defend something that ridiculous? And the other question I have is, what is the consequence for spitting on another man? Like we've seen guys get suspended for multiple games for hits that are bang bang plays. I get the result is what warrants the consequence. I actually was fine with Azeez Al-Shire, who we'll hear from in a second, getting suspended a few games because the rules are the rules and it is what it is. It's not fair. And I can understand that from a player's point of view and all that. I can understand that. But they talk about the integrity of the game, safety, all that type of stuff. I mean, kids are watching this and you're spitting on another dude's face. I mean, that's a fight to the death. Like someone's getting knocked out if someone gets spit in the face. If you spit in someone's face, there should be at least a 2 or 3 game suspension for anyone that spits in another dude's face. I don't give a damn if it's not a personal foul that could lead to a concussion. That is the absolute most ridiculous thing that I've seen. And we heard a lot about Jaylen Carr. I think Jaylen Carr is a hell of a player. I think he's an underrated he's an underrated smart football player too. And he's had some well-documented dumbass stuff off the field, but this is the dumbest thing that I've seen on the field. And there should be a consequence for spitting in another man's face. I'm sorry. He should be suspended for at least 2 or 3 games. I don't give a damn if it didn't hurt him or not. It's a joke. That's just one of the most ridiculous things that I've seen in a long time. But I don't know, like, even if like Will Anderson did that, I'm asking people in the chat, fans, like, would you actually defend that? The answer would be probably not. And I don't know that everyone even in Philly is defending it. I saw the $1 million worth of game Instagram. I think even old Gilly was a little bit upset by that. The unofficial mascot of the Eagles. We've been up on 6 minutes in this game. Speaking of Azeez Al-Shire, yesterday I asked Dare Gumbawale about being a captain. It was kind of ho-hum for him. He was like, it's just a normal thing. And nothing changes. Just got to be consistent. Do what I do. Yada, yada, yada. That's him. Azeez Al-Shire doesn't quite feel that way. I asked Azeez if there's any extra responsibility that comes with being a captain, and my man dropped one of the biggest bars of the day. Could I interest you in a parenting analogy?
Does any extra pressure or responsibility come with being a captain on the team?
Yeah, it's so funny. Me and Nick and Sarah were talking. He was telling me congratulations. I tell us like having kids. Anybody can have a child, but not everybody can be a good parent, a good father. So I feel like when you talk about being a captain, it's more responsibility than it is like swag or like some just passion that you get. So when you get that honor, because it is an honor, you understand the responsibility that comes with it. I feel like people out here having kids, we don't understand what it's like to be a parent for real. So that's how I equate it.
Okay.
Cindy,
Okay. I mean, he dropped the mic on there. No further questions. That's the end of the media session right there. Equating it to being a good parent. Interesting. Different guys think different ways when it comes to those types of things. But I think between that and the core axioms, I thought those were the 2 biggest bars dropped today in the locker room with the Texans. As far as the practice today, there's really not a lot going on. Trent Brown's out there. He looks like someone who needs to get his birth certificate checked. He's a massive dude. He's not moving great, but Trent Brown it's just ridiculous. He's around 330, 340 pounders, and he just looks like he looks like he's not even in the same age group as these guys. So he is out there. Mention the backs. Really not much more going on. Really not much more to observe. It's actually kind of surprising that we're not seeing Christian Kirk. But it's going to be an interesting day tomorrow. We're supposed to hear from, I think, Andrews, Lassiter, and maybe Schultz are the guys we haven't heard from. I want to hear what Andrews has to say, and I want to hear what Lassiter has to say. But they're probably actually going to be on time tomorrow because they're traveling. So I think they're trying to get ahead of the LA time zone. So they're trying to dip out as early as possible. Practice tomorrow is and the Cowboys just punted. I know most of y'all are watching that anyways. But yeah, they just punted, and looks like they got to get a stop and prevent Philly from getting a couple. And this is where Philly's really good. That's where the good offenses are, though. Like the offenses that can get the rock with like 5 minutes left and then kill all the clock, make the other team burn their timeouts and just like grind out multiple first downs. That's what Philly's built for. Like it's funny because you had Jerry Jones go out on the record and say, we got to be able to stop the run late. That's what we got to do. We got to be able to stop the run late. this is the this is the ultimate test right here. When you got, I don't know, 4 or 5 minutes left and you don't think they're going to take too many shots. This is that test that Jura brought up. So tomorrow's practice is at 11:15. And D'Amico will speak at 12:30, and then the locker room will be open at 12:45, and we'll see what the hell they got to say. But I think they're going to get the hell out of there relatively quick. Relatively quick would be what I think. Mr. Heisberg says Schultz is a bum. Why you gotta say that? Nah, I mean, he had a crappy season last year. So I completely understand your frustration with Dalton Schultz. He was not good. I'm very intrigued to see what Dalton Schultz looks like this year. Let's do some sleeper picks here. We had the Pickens over receiving. I think we're a few yards away from that. As Philly is looking to kill the clock. 4:30 left. But let's do a little sleeper pick. Let's pull it up. I'm going to try to be a little bit conservative before I just completely swing for the fences. Let's see what we got here. And if you go on sleeper, this is it's crazy. Like you go on and you have basically like a Twitter app, then you have the survivor pool, all that type of stuff, the fantasy stuff. You got the MLB. We're going to the NFL though. We're going to go with the Chiefs. We're going to look up the Chiefs numbers for tomorrow. And we're going to take the over on the passing yards for Mahomes at 225. Higher, I should say. We're going to take higher than 225 for Patrick Mahomes. Then we're going to go to Hollywood Brown because there's no Rashee Rice. We're going to take higher than 50 yards. That could be one pass if they're going to take shots. So we're going to take the Mahomes and the Hollywood Brown higher. Then we're going to look at the Chargers. Man, this offense stinks. None of these guys are good. All right, we're gonna go with the old honky up top, Lad McConkey, and we're gonna take higher than 50, and that's gonna be our 3-person higher lower on sleeper. We got Mahomes, we got McConkey, we got Brown, and then that goes at 3 times whatever. Go to sleeper. Get a $100 deposit match up to $100. All you got to do is use the promo code LOCKER. Use that promo code LOCKER right there that you see on the bottom left, and you're good to go. So that's where we're going. Crawl before we walk. Little Hollywood action. 20 to 24, 3 minutes. Cowboys ball. This is the drama that we want. Evan McKinley on Z Super Chat.
You ain't never hate.
Swarm.
He says that AJ Brown's under fed families tonight. Okay. I think you might be speaking from personal experience, if I'm not mistaken, that you probably accepted that. I did not know. No targets, though, is a little bit crazy. No targets. The narrow path with Gage says, do you think Alpha Wilson asks about Kirk too? We know he's out, but I would assume that he did. By the way, we got Aaron Alpha Wilson to record a drop for us, myself and Cody.
Hey, bro. Alpha Aaron here.
There you go. Beast mode right there. Love that drop. That might be able to compete with Damn It Bobby. That's up there. But yeah, I think he'll ask about Kirk. It's out there. It's a report. We know. We know Christian Kirk's not playing. I think we got to take Adam Schefter at his word for that. For sure. How about Jerry Jones right now? He's not looking too bad. They got the rock, 330. They just forced a 3 and out. Jerry Jones might get the last laugh after all. Old Jerry with the Micah Parsons. I'll be honest. We've talked about this with the Texans. They're not quite there yet. But they're going to have to make some tough decisions. I don't hate the Micah Parsons trade. I don't think it was going to end well. And I think a lot of times the player kind of does stuff and then kind of lets the organization look bad, kind of like Deshaun. I'm not even talking about the off-field stuff. I'm just talking about the entire way in which he moved, which talked about in 2019 on the air. But the one thing that I do think that Jerry Jones has that not a lot of owners do is everybody says, well, he wants the credit. Yeah, he does. But you know what else he doesn't give a damn about? He doesn't give a damn about taking the blame. And that's the difference. That's the difference between just a sociopath who wants credit. He doesn't mind the blame and he doesn't care about criticism. He's not going to handcuff the media. He's going to let them say whatever they want to say. He's got the thickest of thick skin in the game. I've seen it before. I think it's absolutely fascinating what Jerry Jones has. We got 3 minutes left with the Cows. What a way to start the season. But I will say, if the Texans do get a new stadium, and this is another example, we usually see it during the playoffs with the snow. Every stadium built from this point forward has to have the indoor option. It has to have the indoor option. I don't see why the heat gets treated worse than the cold. I don't see why the heat gets treated worse than the cold. People die of frostbite too. Like being in the cold can kill you. We know about heat stroke. We know that extreme heat can be dangerous. We know you got to hydrate. We know all that. But why is it that all the hot places are building indoor option stadiums? Like all the hot places. Like look at the LAs, the Vegas. This isn't a new stadium, but Jerry World. It's not really new either. But like all the heat. Like there's actually like some courtesy. Like we talk about Southern hospitality and Southern gentlemen and manners and all that. There's at least like some courtesy to where the heat is at least respected and there's like indoor options. Buffalo, they're going to build a new stadium and not have an indoor option. What in the F is that? Cleveland, salute to you for building an indoor option. Some people were upset about that. I'm not saying that you always have to play indoors, but my God, we could have avoided this thunder talk. We could have started the stream right on time. All NFL stadiums should have indoor options. The tickets are so expensive now. People want to be comfortable. And a lot of the people that are sitting there saying stuff like, oh man, that's not football. Okay, go sit your ass in the -10 football game. You're not doing that. You look up those tickets online, they're like $10. You go to games for like $10. I remember there was a Chiefs game. I don't know if it was a divisional round or whatever it was. They're like $50 tickets, probably normally $400. So all this, it's not real football. The times have changed a little bit. The game has changed a little bit. CeeDee Lamb, by the way, with the drop. Should have had it. Then almost an interception with Philly. This is a banger right here. Spread 7.5. So the game inside the game is alive as well. Ooh, another one, another drop. Got a little 3rd and 10 action. Dak he throws a pretty ball to those tight ends, but he sets them up to get head busted. Sean Castillo's repeating what they're saying in Buffalo. The way Buffalo's is built, the weather won't be a factor, and those Bills fans love that. It's going to be a factor. That's crazy. That's ridiculous. It doesn't matter. Like just leave the top on it and all that. We don't need volunteers going and shoveling snow. It's going to be a factor. If it's not closed, it's going to be a factor. I don't know how they can even say that. But I've heard that crap said. it's just I don't know how that's even makes sense. All right, here we go. We got a 4th down. This is gonna be the game right here. 2:22 left. Starting out this season. Cowboys got 3 timeouts though, but they're near midfield. Yeah, Buffalo fans are psycho. Going out there in -5 is crazy. Damn, that's kind of a missed opportunity for the Cows. So that was pretty bad coaching there because with 2:20 left or whatever, 2:22:15, they had a 4th and 3 at midfield. And in that situation, Sean Payton's actually really good at this. I don't give Sean Payton a lot of credit. He has a good football team right now. He obviously knows what the hell he's doing. But the clock's going to stop no matter what, so you can run any play. And you're essentially getting a free timeout. So the Cowboys would have had they not converted, they would have had 3 clock stoppages and they wouldn't have had to use a timeout. If they do convert, they don't have to use the timeout, and then they go to the sidelines and they have a fresh 3. So not snapping the ball there is actually a little bit of a problem. Now, they still have plenty of time to score. It's just kind of nitpicking, but if you want to be safe, it's not really going to impact the clock too much, and it'll give you a lot more to work with if you're Dallas. So you got to snap there. That's kind of the Sean Payton rule. Now you're inside 2, and basically a first down ends it if Philadelphia gets the rock back, which may be the case anyways. Ooh. Man, CD Lamb. He had a chance there. That was a catchable ball. Not the best drive for CD Lamb. I'm not saying that catch would have been easy, but my goodness, dude. Not his best moment. Know a lot of people in H-Town pretty heartbroken by the Cows. They still got 3 timeouts though. But CD Lamb had a couple chances to end this one and did not do it. Maybe a little bit of a shove in the back, but nothing too serious. Kind of sold out for it. He maybe could have had it. It was a good throw. Nico Collins would have caught it, right? The bread and butter of Caley's offense. Stopping that run. Timeout 150. It's a hell of a way to start the season. Stuff that's not getting talked about enough when it comes to the Texans and the Rams is the interior D line. Like, is the Texans are we too high on the Texans interior D line? I think we've gone through the honeymoon phase of the offensive line, but the interior of the D line I do wonder about. The theme of today's show was the bread and butter of the offense, and how we've been sleeping on Nico Collins. But I do wonder about the interior of the Texans D line, and if maybe we're a little too giddy on it. There's not a lot of upside there, I will say. It's probably, along with the offensive line, outside of Ariante Ursary, it is the area of the team that has the least amount of upside. Tight end perhaps as well, although I think people are pretty high. There's the first target for A.J. Brown, and he ran backwards. I think people are pretty high on Cade Stover. Like, do you think he's going to be a future TE1? I wouldn't necessarily go that far, but you think he can be one of those guys that plays a large amount of snaps in a multiple tight end offense. But the interior of the D-line is the area that I would say has the least amount of upside. I would say corner has more upside, obviously, safety, linebacker, edge, wide receiver, even running back if you factor in Marks and how maybe Caley can shuffle a committee. But interior D-line, on one hand, you feel okay, because they're not bad. It's not like it's bad. But, and you also don't think that they're asked to do a ton, but there's really not a lot of upside there. They're going 3rd and 3. They're running the ball here. Let's be serious. No, they're not. Unless they're doing a draw with Hurts. This has to be a run. Unless they're just gonna throw to win it 3rd and 3. Nah, yeah, they are. Nah, that's a run. That's game. That'll do it. Eagles win. Eagles win. Cowboys cover. What a way to start the season. CD Lamb is patting himself on the chest saying, that's my bad. That's never what you want to hear. It is definitely your bad. The first drop was really bad. So there you go. That's how we start the season off. Texas teams 0-1. Defending champs 1-0. Good game. No, people are heartbroken over this. Today we tested the internet connection at Spanky's. It is going down on September 12th. Myself, Cody Stutes, we're broadcasting live at 4 o'clock. We're going to have prizes. We're going to have a live broadcast. John McClain's going to go. John McClain used to bring his old posse to radio events. John McClain is going to be there. If you've ever said something bad about John McClain, just tell him. He loves it. He doesn't care. He'll be there. We'll try to get some other people. A lot of viewers, listeners have already said that they're going to be out there. If you haven't been to Spanky's, I don't know what to tell you. They make the dough themselves. They make the sauces themselves. They have some underrated items from wings, sandwiches. Got to go pizza though. And they got a full bar. And it is one of the most reasonably priced establishments. Been around for 50 years. This is their newer location, the Sharpstown location out there on Bel Air. We'll be there. Come by, say hi, and hang. And also be sure to subscribe to the Houston Collective with myself, Stutes, Sean Pendergast, and Reginald Atatula. That's going to be on Mondays at 6. We will take you up to Monday Night Football. We will not be broadcasting during Monday Night Football because that's a bad idea to do. It's kind of like broadcasting during the opener of the season, but sometimes weather delays just put you in somewhat of a tough spot. Just can't help yourself. There you go, Jalen Hurts. H-Town comes out on top over Dallas. A hell of a dub right there. State of Texas about to be 1-1. We're not the Cowgirls, Landry. Texans will eat. Or Patrick. Possible. I like their chances. I like their chances, especially with the defense. No doubt about it. Appreciate everyone for rolling through. Be sure to subscribe. Be sure to like. Be sure to ride along. Happy New Year to all. I should have worn a tux for this one just because the season started. So it starts with a bang. A lot of people in Houston very excited with the Cowboys going down. In the chat, don't ask me stuff you can Google. Like, don't ask. We don't need to talk about stuff you can Google. If someone's asking how old Matthew Stafford is, look it up, man. We've said it a few times. You can look it up, man. There's a site called Google. It's popping. It'll answer any age question you have. They got you. He's pushing 40, man. Pushing 40. Appreciate y'all for rolling through. Always remember, when it comes to this Texan stuff, we are all in it together. Shout out to Sleeper for sponsoring the video. Shout out to everyone who joined in. Tomorrow, we'll hear from D'Amico. We'll hear from the guys that we haven't heard from this week, and they will be on a plane to LA, and we will be 2 sleeps away from the start of this season. Finally. Post-game show also immediately after the game. Be there, be square. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the Locker Room on YouTube. You know what it is. Let's get it. Hey. Locker Room. Yeah, we in the locker room. Texas talk. Yeah, you know what we about to do. Localize every angle's what we really do. We the source, we the pulse of the city too. Landlocked, got the game in the headlock. Localize every time, can't stop, won't stop. Yeah, we top